This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
All right, you watched some Milton Williams film recently. I think you watched 3 games, Greg. Just first, your overall synopsis from what you saw.
So my synopsis is this, I'll start from this. My only frame of reference with Milton Williams was really the Eagles' postseason run, and his best game, his highest graded game from PFF was the Super Bowl, and he was great in the Super Bowl. He had a strip sack of Pat Mahomes. There was a legitimate chance that he could have been MVP of that game because of what he did. And so that's where I sort of started with him. I also knew that Milton Williams, when you talk about work ethic, football character, the intangibles, off the charts. Anybody you talk to in Philly with the Eagles, around the team, off the charts. So with that, the Patriots decided to go where they did as far as the contract, which is, $26 million a year, third highest paid defensive tackle in the league behind Chris Jones and Christian Wilkins. You understood that. And I still understand that because the Patriots, we know they lack top end talent. They had money to spend. Milton Williams was probably the only free agent, or at least one of the rare free agents where you're just like, this guy's entering his prime. His best football's in front of him, and you have a chance to grab him. I understood that the Patriots needed to make a splash and be like, look, we could still pull one of the premier free agents, as far as when we get into player acquisition, we can still get these guys. And so,
right.
And you can never have enough good defensive tackles. And so totally understood it. So that's where I was coming from with Milton Williams. When I reviewed the films and I reviewed the Chiefs Super Bowl game, I reviewed the Saints game, which was, and the reason I picked that game, it was one of his lowest rated games on PFF. And also it was by far the most run snaps that he played during the season. And also I reviewed the Ravens game, which was more of a middle of the road. Ravens are on the schedule this year. I figured that would be a good one to watch. So my overarching takeaway from watching Milton Williams a lot more closely is, if you're expecting him to be Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, Jeffrey Simmons, all right, maybe not Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's a freak, so let's put him to the side. But any of these impressive 3 techniques, interior defensive guys that can dominate a game, that can wreck a game consistently, if you're talking about right now, he's not that guy. He's not. He's really just a straight ahead power rusher, not many pass rush moves, not many counter moves. So that was surprising. I thought he was better against the run than I anticipated, even though they weren't like great, but they were pretty good. But so at the end of the day, when I came down to it was, if you think that, you look at the money that the Patriots paid him, $26 million. Is he worth that right now? In my opinion, no, not even close. Obviously, the Patriots are banking on the fact that, or their belief that he's just now, hasn't played a ton in his career, that he's on the upswing. Last year, I think he had 8 sacks. His stats took a jump. Every year he's gotten better, that he's going to continue that ascension, that Mike Vrabel, Terrell Williams, all these guys, that they can do for Milton Williams what they did for Jeffrey Simmons, which is take him to the next level. And I'm not begrudging them that at all. But after watching his film, I was like, he is not close to that player. He's more of like a B player right now. They're paying him like an A elite player.
Yeah.
And he's going to he has a ways to go to fulfill that contract. I don't know if he ever will. Again, I understand why they did it, but if you're expecting Milton Williams to come in and dominate and change the Patriots on defense, I think you're mistaken, at least right now. Maybe in a couple years he gets there. In fact, I would say, Nick, in my opinion, if you said who's better, who's the potential to be a more dominating player for the Patriots, a healthy Christian Barmore, when we've seen him at his best, of course, with the blood clots and everything, we don't know exactly where he is. But if you said, all right, the best film, and I watched Milton Williams in the KC game, I've watched Christian Barmore's whole career. To me, there's little question that Christian Barmore at his best, if he picks off where, he was at his highest, there's little doubt in my mind that he is by far the more dominating player on the interior at this point. I'm not saying Milton Williams can't get there. I assume the Patriots are betting that they can get him there, and I'm not going to begrudge them that. But right now, Milton Williams is not a dominating player. The Patriots are going to need him to be that player at some point in time in short order. Maybe not this year, but maybe the year after. And that could happen. But right now, he's not a game wrecker, if that's what you think that they're bringing in.
Jeremy Fowler recently, today, really, just put out his first, top 10 each position column that he does. He talks to execs, coaches, scouts. And Milton Williams, his first position was defensive tackle. Milton Williams did not make the top 10, not a shocker. But Milton Williams also did not make really any other list. Honorable mention, wasn't mentioned. And also receiving votes, he wasn't mentioned. So 21 total defensive tackles in this column. Milton Williams didn't get a single vote.
I'm a little bit surprised by that, Nick. But I will say this, because not only am I watching Milton Williams, but I'm watching some of the other guys, and we know they have Jalen Carter's a dude on the interior. They also have Jordan Davis, and basically the way the Eagles did it is Jordan Davis would be in there on like the first two downs, then Milton Williams would come in, and Milton Williams would get like the next series for a while and then come out. But so they also have I can't find the kid. Oh, so they have this guy, Moro Ojomo, number 97. Okay, he was a 7th round pick in 2023. So a couple things on that. So it's basically, in the Eagles, they're the Super Bowl champs. They've been contenders. They have a high price. They have a lot of people they need to pay. So we all understood why they didn't pay Milton Williams. But I think all things being equal, I'm not sure whether they would have paid Milton Williams, because it was a little puzzling to me that not puzzling, but I mean, I understand it because of the money. But so they picked up Jordan Davis was about to enter his last year. They picked up his 5th year contract option. That's like 13 or 14 million, which you understand just from a monetary, it just makes sense financially. Jordan Davis has not been that great since he's entered the league. There's been questions about his conditioning, all that stuff. He's played better last year. He's a good player. But this kid, Ojomo, he basically, there were times where he would spell Milton Williams. And to tell you the truth, I couldn't really tell much of a difference. And you might be able to make the argument that Ojomo brings a little bit more in pass rush right now. He's got a little bit more wiggle. He's got a few more tricks up his sleeve. So it doesn't surprise me that I'm just saying, if all things being equal, or the Eagles didn't have to worry about their roster and who they had to pay. I think they still probably would have moved on from Milton Williams because, Ojomo is just that good. And I think they think Davis has a few more levels to go. So I just thought that was interesting.
We got a lot of the context from you through the first 14 minutes or so as far as why Milton Williams would play less than 50% of the snaps last year for the Eagles. But what's most important, Greg, is how many snaps will Milton Williams play this year for the Patriots? What's his role in 2025?
He's, considering what they're paying him, he's definitely a starter. I mean, I think he's going to be somewhere probably around 60 to 70% of the snaps. I mean, the Patriots do have some, internal options. We know that, we've talked about Tonga on, how he's going to be sort of a, rough stuffing, run stuffing guy. I think he's going to be Williams is going to be right next to Christian Barmore. You also have Farms, you have Jaquelin Roy, you have Josh Farmer, the draft pick, Ritzy, who we talked about. We'll see ultimately who makes the roster, but they're paying him $26 million a year. That guy's got to play a lot, and that's also something that we don't know whether he can handle physically. I think he does. I mean, I love the way he's put together. I love the way he's built. He is a prototype 3 technique. Maybe he didn't get the teaching base being, one of the more, the backups on the Eagles. Maybe he's going to get a lot more coaching here, and he can sort of tap in to his upside with these guys, with Vrabel, Tayler Williams when he gets around here. Did really great work with the defensive line in Tennessee, but he's getting paid $26 million a lot. He's going to have to play a lot.
What's the worst case scenario?
The worst case scenario is, Milton Williams, and we've seen this, and I think we've had this discussion with some Patriots players in the past, that you're just like, he's only good if there are good players around him. We know Milton Williams was good last year in Philly. He had good players around him. We all know that defensive line between the ends and the defensive tackles by the end of the season was, probably one of the best in recent memory in the NFL. They just came in waves. Williams got here. The thing that disappointed me the most, probably, Nick, watching this is that, and we sort of knew this, but because of Jalen Carter, because of their edge guys, Milton Williams got a lot of reps, one-on-ones. And the only guys I really saw him dominate were sort of, backups, journeymen, those types. If now there's a chance that he might get double teamed. And so the Patriots almost need, I think, for Williams to go off, I think the Patriots almost need Christian Barmore to be dominating and be such a problem that he's getting the Jalen Carter treatment. So I actually think that's quote unquote best part. But the worst case scenario is he's just sort of an ensemble guy, that he's not a lead player, that he's not elite, that he's not really a double-digit sack guy. And the worst case scenario is he proves that he can't hold up to a full-time role, or he can't handle a full-time role. I mean, I don't think any of that stuff's going to happen, but you can't rule any of that stuff out.
All right, we did worst case. Best case, what's his ceiling?
I think the ceiling is Jeffrey Simmons, which is, unreal. And, you got to remember, and of course, the Titans and Vrabel and Tayler Williams, they got Jeffrey Simmons. They drafted him. They developed him. He got better every year. In his third season with the Titans under Vrabel, Simmons went from 3 sacks and 44 pressures to 14 sacks and 66 pressures in 2021. I mean,
Jeez.
Yeah, that's the ideal scenario, and I don't rule that out. Yes, I'm being a little bit critical of Milton Williams, and this is just a snapshot of where he is now, and that we've talked about this before, because people are going to clip this and they're going to use it against me. You said he was a bust, that he wasn't going to be any. No, what I'm saying is where he is today. Players are not stagnant. They either get better or they get worse. I think Milton Williams is going to get better. The Patriots are banking that Milton Williams is going to get better. And, could I see him being a Jeffrey Simmons type? Probably not this year, but with a full year in the system, with the coaches, with skill development, probably, making that jump from Jeffrey Simmons from a second and third year. Could I see him doing that in the best case scenario next year? Yeah, I could. And I think that's what the Patriots are banking and paying on.